Okay, so we're back with our third part of our gymnastics for jiu-jitsu series. Today we're moving sideways through space. Probably the most literal use of gymnastics in jiu-jitsu is that sideward motion, right? So we're looking at Gramby rolls, cartwheels, anytime we're moving our body over our shoulder and in a sideways motion. So the first movement we're going to talk about is a butterfly roll, okay? It's kind of like a training tool we're going to use for our Gramby roll. We start off sitting in our butterfly, whether it's a butterfly stretch or a butterfly guard, no matter. All right, we're going to go through this in 4 different parts to make a half circle rotation. So I fall to my right side, my thigh touches the mat, and now I'm at step 1. Right, so step 1 is just this easy lean. Step 2, I'm going to fall to my back. Step 2. Step 3, I go back to step 1 on the far side. Right, so step 3 is onto the thigh. In step 4, we transfer our weight forward and we sit up. Sitting forward. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn to the mat, and we keep our thighs to our chest, and we have our knees bent, and we roll through, right? And we can make this nice and loose and just roll in circles. In our butterfly, the same idea. Instead of having our hands in front this time, we tuck one arm behind our back, and that's going to help prop our butt off the ground. As I roll down, I'm going to make a big quarter turn, the same first step, right? But now this time, I'm going to lift my butt with my bottom leg, and I put my bottom arm under my hip as a prop. Right? From here, all I'm going to do is rock to my back and switch my legs. And then sit down. So the same 180-degree turn, we just added some elevation by putting our butt up in the air, rolling more onto our shoulders, less onto the small of our back. The next step is to really try to push that around, right? So we've got ourselves up onto our shoulders. We're getting a good job of putting our prop in, right? So I'm gonna rock to my elbow. I'm gonna lift with this bottom leg, right? This motion here is really important. My toes go into the mat. I raise my heel to the sky, and I drive myself up, allowing me to put the prop in. And now I can rest on this, right? From here, I'm looking to go flat backed, chin to my chest, never putting my ear on the mat. I'm looking forward. I rock down until I'm flat. From here, I'm able to switch to the far side. And I can reverse the motion. So now we're getting closer and closer to that true inverted guard, that true Gramby roll, right? The nice thing is, as we work ourselves in a compass rotation, we're kind of cutting a corner, which is really comfortable for our flexibility. It's comfortable for our neck. It keeps us from getting too caught up in this chin to chest motion. When we look for our more traditional style Gramby roll, the problem we have is our ear hits the mat and people tend to look up and they get lost in this part here. They're not really grasping the idea of getting our shoulders to the mat and ducking under and allowing our head to smooth to the bottom. So, as opposed to trying to go from a left to right kind of linear pathway, we're taking that quarter circle. And so, if you can find a place on the mat where you have 4 mats intersecting, kind of like a big plus sign, I like to use that because what I'll do is I'm trying to keep myself on those compass points. So if I'm starting with my feet facing south, I'm going to try to do my first Gramby roll with my feet facing to the west. Feet facing south, I duck under. I do a quarter rotation under. I re-grab the mat. I do a quarter rotation out. And now I've turned myself from south over to west. Again, high heel, shoulder to the mat, chest down, makes for 1/8 of a rotation here. We finish facing west for 1/4 rotation. We go to northwest to north, all right? We go to northeast to east, and we finish back where we started, southeast to south. Once we get comfortable doing those 1/4 rotations, we're gonna do TikToks, right? We're gonna go in and out, back and forth. We're gonna follow in, right? High heel, put that post in, right? From here I can relax. If I have an opponent pressing down on my shin shield here, their weight is going down through my right hand. So I'm able to frame on them and stay very secure here. The cool thing is this becomes a false frame. When I'm ready, I can switch directions and squirt out the back side. So all I'm gonna do is put this post in, my head comes underneath, and I switch, all right? And I can TikTok back and forth. So we're gonna start our snail rolls flat on our stomachs. And the first one we're gonna do, we're gonna use our toes to walk our butt up in the air. Okay, so this is like a hybrid between a forward roll and a Gramby roll. I'm gonna look to one direction, right? So if I look towards my left hand, I'm gonna roll over my right shoulder. So I start bringing my chin to my chest. I'm looking under my left armpit, looking towards my belly button as I walk my toes up. Walk up, and I'm coming underneath. I just let it roll out. All right, to reverse that motion, the same thing happens. I bring my feet up, I put my feet to one side, I roll over that side, and I walk my way back out, clearing my head. As we progress in these, the goal is to use our core to elevate our body. And so I'm not gonna walk my toes up. I'm gonna use my core to drag my feet up. Find that balance point, hit our inversion, and then slowly extend ourselves down. The goal is to have control over our bodies the whole way through and do a nice hollow body. We roll back up. We put our feet down to one side, hit our inverted pike, head to one side, open ourselves up, and we slide our way out nice and slow. All right, I'm gonna roll up until I'm in that inverted pike position, and I come out the other side. All right, my feet are on the ground the whole time. My feet aren't sliding left and right, right? My upper body is doing the sliding. So my feet are gonna stay anchored right there. My body comes around and then exit the other side. If I'm in a turtle, I'm gonna take my right hand and reach for my left heel. I'm gonna look under my left armpit. I'm gonna pop my butt up in the air, bring my feet around, and come back to a turtle. All right, left hand now goes towards the right heel. Shoulder goes to the mat, looking under my right armpit, feet come up, all the way through and out the other side. Getting really comfortable with that motion of being underneath ourselves and having our feet anchored to the floor. 9 out of 10 times when we're inverting, our feet are occupied by somebody's weight. So being comfortable leaving our feet on the mat while we make that inversion is really, really important. All right, so as crazy as that sounds, I want to accomplish all of those things before I get really comfortable doing a Granby roll like for a line drill. The problem with line drills in general for jiu-jitsu is we tend to just throw ourselves down the mat and we kind of lose the real meaning of why we're drilling the lines. So I want us to get really comfortable moving in one spot on the mat, doing the inversions throughout the whole process before we get to that really basic Granby roll, right? Once we're there, we have a better understanding of how it's supposed to work and you'll see less failure. So Granby roll, I push up, nice and loose. As we get better and better at these, the goal is to have both of our hands in front of us so that we're occupying an opponent here as I roll. And I'm safe to keep myself defended, or I have a grip on an opponent and I'm able to manipulate that grip throughout the roll. Even though that last Granby roll is probably the easiest of the whole lot, it's really important we have the fundamentals down and we have all those building blocks in place before we just roll over our shoulder. So moving up to a cartwheel on our hands. The practical application is going to be cartwheel passes. So they are used, but ultimately, anytime we can learn to have control over our bodies in different gymnastics techniques, you're always going to find some kind of translation to jiu-jitsu. Everybody's going to have a natural good side and a natural bad side to their cartwheel. I'm left-handed, so when I sit in a southpaw stance or I stand in a southpaw stance, I'm more likely to want to cartwheel over my right hand first, my left hand trails. If you're right-handed, right, and we're in an orthodox stance, it's going to be the opposite. I want to hurdle my front leg, which is lower myself down toward my hands on the mat, and then kick over from there. So knowing that, we're going to do our monkey cartwheels the same way. Start off in our cartwheel stance. I put my hand on the mat, right? It's lead leg, lead hand, right? So left leg, left hand if you're orthodox. Right hand, right leg if you're southpaw. When my hands come to the mat, I go hand, I bend this leg all the way down. Right, from here, I'm gonna shuffle my legs around the outside. Hands come down, right? Move. My feet are just hovering over the mat. I'm not leaving in this big motion yet. I want us to get really comfortable having our palms flat on the mat, right? Our wrist strength and our wrist flexibility is super important here. As I look for cartwheel passes, right, I can't put my knuckles down. I don't want to have that wrist injury happen when I flex my wrist on the mat. So I'm always going to do a cartwheel pass with an open palm. Let's practice that. Let's get really comfortable moving on open palms and less prone to using a fist. The lead leg gets us low to the mat. So I'm going to load my front leg in a lunge here for a hurdle. My hand comes to the mat, right? My fingers are always facing away from me. So if my chest is facing the camera, my fingers are going to face away from the camera, right? That'll help keep me oriented the right way the whole time. I look at my fingers the whole time I'm flipping. So my hands are staying in sight. I'm watching my lead hand. I'm watching my trailing hand come over the top. I should see both hands. My trailing leg is the leg that's going to snap down to the floor. The more I can get this thing to the mat, the faster I can get it to the mat, the easier my stand-up will be. So, nice deep lunge, get your hand to the mat, reach over the top, look at both fingers, and then bring the other foot down. And I bring that foot nice and close to that trailing hand. So trailing foot is almost going to touch our trailing hand. That's important for a couple of reasons. For one, it's going to make that landing happen a lot faster. So we get to the ground faster, we're a lot safer that way, we spend less time in a handstand. And for two, when we start looking at doing one-armed cartwheels, which is a little bit more like a cartwheel pass, it's really important that that trailing leg snaps down quickly, or else we'll have a hard time standing up, right? So one more time, we're in an orthodox stance if you're right-handed, you're in a southpaw stance if you're left-handed. So orthodox, left hand comes to the mat first, nice deep hurdle, hand comes down, hand over the top, trailing leg rushes to the mat to land. All right, the other direction, it looks like this. All right, and we start taking our time. Going both directions is important, but very hard. Again, we're gonna have one very natural way and one very unnatural way. So find the way you can do it well, accomplish that perfectly first, and then start working toward your opposite or your bad side cartwheel. Okay, so once we have our cartwheels down, we're looking at adding a little bit of pop to it. So we're gonna do cartwheel pop-ups. And so the really confusing thing here is when we pop up, our motion does not come from a bend, like an overhead press. We're not gonna push our body with our biceps off the mat. We're gonna block through our shoulders. So we have straight arms, and we do a big shoulder shrug. It's gonna push us off the mat through our shoulders and our core, using our lats, our whole back muscles, and not our biceps. We're gonna go step and launch, step and launch. So we're gonna combine a cartwheel pop-up to a 2-foot landing, right? So the same idea here, nice deep hurdle, big block through the shoulders, and then 2 feet come together to land, right? So you'll start seeing a lot of round-offs in wrestling rooms It's a great dynamic workout, one that we should all be incorporating into our jiu-jitsu and gymnastics for jiu-jitsu regimen. Cool. Okay, we're almost there. We're almost to the end. We've done our butterfly rolls. We've done our compass Grambies. We've done our true Gramby roll. We did snail rolls. We did cartwheels. We did cartwheel pop-ups. We did round-offs. And now we're gonna go to one-arm cartwheels. I really think one-arm cartwheels are important. If we're looking at passing a cartwheel pass over a sit-up guard, it's really important, right? So as we do a cartwheel pass over a sit-up guard, we're looking at stepping with one leg forward for a seated opponent. I'm gonna have one hand in a collar tie usually, and my trailing hand is going to hit the mat, and I'm gonna stuff the head. The goal here is to land directly behind them past the guard. If I need both hands on the mat, nothing stops my opponent from laying back and retaining his guard. The one-arm cartwheel allows us to control posture with the head control. So as I have a collar tie on the back of the head, right? I put my hand down and I'm gonna pass the head. So remember, I want that trailing leg to come back to my leading hand as fast as I can. And so I'm gonna push and step behind. I do a cartwheel and I'm gonna try to hover one hand, okay? And you'll see how important that trailing leg is to rush to my fingers. So hand comes down, it's always gonna be my leading hand that hits the ground, never my trailing hand, right? So I'm not gonna cartwheel this way and have my inside arm up. It's always my outside arm that comes up. So hand comes down, I'm hovering. That way if I have to put my hand down, I can, right? So it's important that I don't just go for this and bail. My hand's over, my hand's hovering, we're in, right? So once we feel comfortable with that, we go higher, right? I'm really gonna eliminate that hand from the mat altogether. Again, watch closely how I land. My feet are gonna come very close to my fingers, right? I can't emphasize enough how important those compass Granby rolls are. Get really good at being perfect in your rotations and moving on the compass points exactly, right? Don't turn your Granby rolls into this quick flip over. This will make using inverted guard and any type of Granby rotation so much easier. So take it slow, protect your neck, and always make sure you're keeping yourself and your training partners safe. See you next time.